Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones of Love City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And today we are back with another episode. We'll be doing our pregame show. So I'm going to be giving you guys just a few pieces of news and notes as we get ready for Sunday night football battle against longtime rival Pittsburgh Steelers. So thank you guys for joining me. We're going to have about a 40-minute show just to talk about some of the last minute news and notes, get you guys up to date on what to expect tonight, and give you a little bit of tips on how to set up your fantasy lineups. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. I see the views are growing pretty quickly. So make sure you hit that like button. Let's get those likes to match those views. And as always, the Fifth Quarter Podcast is powered by Cowboys Nation. So get those questions, get those comments in, and let's talk about what to expect for tonight's game. So we'll start off first with a bit of information about the injury report, just to give you guys some thoughts on some last minute people who will be out for this week's game. So I don't have a nice, pretty graphic for the Steelers, but for the Cowboys, we talked about this Wednesday night. We got quite a few guys on the injury report starting off. As you guys know, Michael Parsons dealing with the high ankle sprain, probably going to miss a week or two minimum. DeMarcus Lawrence dealing with the Liz Frank injury with his foot. They placed him on IR, so we won't see him for minimum probably 4 weeks. And then in a surprise piece of information, Brandon Cooks, who was initially listed as out for this week due to an infection in his knee, now he has been placed on IR, so he'll be out for a minimum of 4 weeks. And then the last player on the list is rookie cornerback Kalen Carson. So as you guys remember, he did miss last week's game, but he was limited at practice this week. And there was some optimism that he'd be able to play today. But based off of seeing some of the interviews and the information from the coaching staff, it looks like there's a strong chance that he may not be able to compete in tonight's game. Further kind of confirming that is the fact that the Cowboys did use one of their 2 practice squad call-ups for a cornerback, and I'm not even going to try to butcher his name, but he's the same cornerback who started last week for the Cowboys, and he's going to be called up again for a second week. So the fact that they called him up seems to me that there's a pretty strong indicator that Kalen Carson won't be playing tonight. So we got a lot of defensive injuries to concern with, 2 defensive ends and our starting / number 3 corner. We just signed a guy, KJ Henry, who's probably going to play today and fill in for D-Law. And then we called up Carl Lawson, who's probably going to be playing as well. So there's going to be a bit of a patchwork on our defense, 3 of our 11 starters missing. So hopefully the Steelers don't take advantage of that. Now, on the Steelers side, the injuries to most fans won't seem big, but if you look at how the Steelers like to play football, these are very significant injuries. The first injury, well, actually, okay. Thank you, Hassan Newell. Put it up there phonetically for me. I'll still mess it up. Amarie, I'm assuming Amarie is the corner that is called up from the practice squad. So, Hassan, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. So, on the Steelers side, the Steelers and Larita Covington, thank you for joining us this morning. We're at 11:25, so probably got a good 20 more minutes before I get out of here. Once again, guys, be sure to hit that like button, get in the comments, and also go to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Bluff City Cowboys. I see it looks like most of you guys are watching from the DC4L group, which is great, and we definitely appreciate your support and your engagement. But if you could, please, during the show or at the end, go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, help me on my path to 1,000 subscribers. Now back to the Steelers. So both of the Steelers backup running backs are out. So that includes Jalen Warren as well as, how did I just go blank on his name? Jalen Warren and then Cordero Patterson. Now the reason these two injuries are significant are, number one, Cordero Patterson is an extremely explosive kick and punt returner. So that is going to weaken their return game, which, as you guys know, in years past can sometimes come back and bite us in the rear. On top of that, Patterson and Warren are both their third down / receiving backs. Najee Harris doesn't provide much in the receiving game. And also, both of those backs, they're the explosive backs. So, Cordero Patterson and Jalen Warren both average 4.5 to 5 yards a carry, while Najee Harris averages below 4 yards a carry. So that means not only are they going to lose special teams, they're also going to lose the check downs in the receiving game, and they're going to lose the explosive runs. So those are three big aspects for the Steelers that help them to move the ball offensively. So hopefully the Cowboys can take advantage of that. The player who's going to be a backup this week is a kid named Aaron Shanklin. And for some of you diehard Cowboys fans who love following the draft and free agency, Aaron Shanklin was an undrafted rookie free agent, I believe, 2 years ago out of Harvard, and he was in the Cowboys training camp and got cut eventually. So another familiar name, fairly explosive kid, has no experience. He'll probably get some carries here or there, but I don't expect him to be too impactful. So that's pretty much all we have for the injury report. The Steelers, outside of their two backup running backs, are coming into this game extremely healthy, while we're missing several key starters on both sides of the ball. So it's definitely another one of those advantages for the Steelers that we have to overcome. Joseph Warren said the Cowboys need to go back to free agency seriously. They have to go back at a minimum for a receiver. I know we all love Ryan Flournoy and the story, but Flournoy is a fifth round rookie. And while it could be a chance we hit lightning in a bottle and he becomes Jalen Reed for the Green Bay Packers, or he becomes Rashid Shaheed like New Orleans Saints, there's a chance he could become that. But we cannot go into a game hoping that a fifth round pick who, for all intents and purposes, wasn't even seen as good enough to be active for 4 weeks, we can't expect him to come in and be productive and be a legitimate number 2 or number 3 receiver. So we have to go out there and find some help. And there are a lot of guys who are available in free agency. There are also a couple of players who would be available for trade. So I'm with you, Joseph Warren. We definitely need to get out there. Our front office and our coaching staff needs to drop their egos and go out and find some help. Jeffrey Harris, thank you for joining. As you know, Bland hurt himself, so he's been on IR. I think he's eligible next week possibly to come back, but he's been out pretty much the whole season so far. And to recap, Micah Parsons is out, DeMarcus Lawrence is out, and Kalen Carson, the cornerback, could possibly be out. And then on the offensive side, Brandon Cooks is out. Just like Keystone said, first come, first serve. We're going to keep hearing these Dez Bryant comparisons to Ryan Flournoy. And again, he could come out and shock us all. But I'm not putting my faith in a fifth-round rookie who's never played a snap of professional football and was not good enough to even be active for a month. Just me personally. Not saying anything negative about the kid. I wish him the best. I hope he comes out and exceeds all of our expectations. But it's just irresponsible for the team to put themselves in this situation to have to rely on a kid like this to come and step up because they don't want to sign anyone else. All right, so that's pretty much all I have for the injury report. We're at 11:30. So next we're going to go quickly into our keys to victory. And here I'll give you guys a couple of the keys that I think we have to hit in order to be successful in this week's game. So pretty straightforward. I have 3 keys to victory for this week's game. Number 1, control the interior. So the Steelers have a couple of guys on their offensive line who are banged up. Their starting guard has been out for like 3 weeks. I think the center is also dealing with the injury, who's, by the way, a rookie. So the interior of their offensive line has some weaknesses. Our defensive tackles have to step up this week because, for one, like we just talked about, both of our edges are missing. So we need to provide a push up the middle, and we need to have guys like Osa and Mozzie and whoever else is at defensive tackle. They need to help make up the slack on top of our linebackers, because I feel like this is a week where those double A gap blitzes can really come in handy. So those guys really need to bring that interior pressure. And Najee Harris, like I said, he's not an explosive runner. He's a purely between the tackles runner. So we have to make sure that we can get him at the line of scrimmage and not let his power come into play and he turned 2-yard runs into 7-yard runs. On the offensive side of the ball, we have 2 all pros at guard. We have an extremely powerful center, even though he's a rookie. The strength of the Steelers defense is along the edges from J.J. Watt and the other outside safety and outside end, Minkah Fitzpatrick. We have to, which is going to be a tall task, we have to be able to get a push up the middle to help control the clock. Number 2, we have to reduce explosive plays. Now, the injury bug has helped us to an extent in terms of their special teams and their receivers, running backs catching out of the backfield. But we're going to be short at corner, and they have Calvin Austin, who's an extremely talented receiver who runs a legit 4.3. We don't need another Rashid Shaheed performance. And if you guys follow the Steelers, Justin Fields does not like to throw in the interior of the defense. He's an outside the hashes quarterback, which means he's going to be throwing a lot of deep balls. George Pickens is one of the league leaders in yards per reception. And like I said, Calvin Austin is a burner. So we have to control the explosive plays passing. And also we need to try to contain Justin Fields with his legs, because he can create explosive plays as well when given the opportunity. And as I say it, thank you for joining us, William Coulter. We have to stop Fields from using his legs. Exactly. Not worried about Najee Harris. He's not really a catcher, so I don't think you have to worry about him much. I would probably worry more about Aaron Shanklin possibly getting some catches, or them putting Calvin Austin in the backfield because he does have some running back experience from college. All right, so the last point, we have to make this a messy game. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit of inclement weather in Pittsburgh. We need to make Pittsburgh old school Pittsburgh. Run the ball, control the clock. We need to do the same thing because, in all honesty, if we can keep the game close, I have more faith in Dak and the offense being able to get a 4-minute drive to take the lead than I do the Steelers. So we have to make this a messy game. The Steelers are only giving up 13 points a game. So don't expect this one to be a barn burner. We have to try to get the 17 to 20 points, keep them around their average, which is about 17 to 19 points. Make sure we either have the lead at the end of the game or we have a good opportunity to take the lead at the last minute. We also have a great kicker. So if we can just get past the 50 with a close game, we should have an opportunity. And Keystone, which I don't disagree, the way we don't stop the run, I'm respecting Najee. I mean, because of the way we looked in the running game, you have to respect Najee. But my problem is Najee is not a good runner to me. I mean, they're going to give him the ball probably 25 times this game, I would assume. If we can just keep those to 3 to 4.5 yards a carry, I think we'll be okay. We can't let him get some rare break loose runs because he's not known for it. So we have to keep it close. We have to establish our run also because it's going to be hard to block TJ Watt, just plain and simple. So we have to keep a short game as well. Keep it close. Hope we can come away with it at the end. William Coulter saying Pittsburgh is like San Fran, very physical, and I'm worried. We do not do good against physical teams because Dallas is soft and everyone knows it. You're preaching to the choir, William Coulter. Pittsburgh is a very physical team. I'm honestly going to hold out hope because I don't want to say Micah soft, but when you have guys like him in the game, sometimes the team will go a little bit finesse because they expect for him to clear up so much with his athleticism. So I'm hoping that because a player like Micah is out, maybe some of these other guys in the front seven will step up, play a little bit more physical, and play their assignments better. Because I feel like when Micah's in the game and you know he runs a 4-3, sometimes guys might try to play a little hero ball or guys may not give the same effort because they feel like we've got number 11 who can clean it up for us. Brandon Perez, the interior, they got to do their job. Exactly. You can't get turned. You can't get washed out. We need to see more of what we saw in the Giants game. The Steelers are probably going to play 12 personnel all game. That's 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, and a running back. So we're going to probably have to go with a bigger lineup. Hopefully we don't take Overshown off the field, but we just have to keep it close. And we got Ryan at DC Diner saying he'll be in attendance. I've been to a Steelers game before, Ryan. Good luck trying to get out of there. That crowd is no joke. The way that stadium is kind of based right off the river, it's just a very intimidating environment. So good luck and have fun out there. Okay, so the views have been pretty steady. We're at 11:38. So now, before we get out of here, I want to get you guys active on the show. So we are now about to do our game predictions for this week. I gave you guys my keys to victory. So now let's get your game predictions in the comments. And while we wait for you guys to put your game predictions in the comments, I'll kind of give you my thoughts on this game. And for whoever gets the score right or gets closest, we will be giving away Dallas Cowboys lanyards. My lanyards just came in. So whoever gets closest or whoever gets the score correctly will receive a Dallas Cowboys lanyard. So get those game predictions in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on this game. And while I wait for you guys to put those game predictions in the comments, when I look at this game, like I just said, we have to make it a messy game. The Steelers' defense is great. They're only giving up 13 and a half points a game. Based off the competition they've played, I mean, they played a couple of bad teams, but they played some average teams as well. I think if we can keep the score under, I'm looking at 23-14. Yeah, 20. No, let me take that back. 369, 17. I'm looking at 19-16. I think 19-16 is a good score. I think it's going to be something like that. It's going to be a field goal game. We'll probably find a way to score a touchdown. They'll get one, and then it'll just be a field goal battle. 19-16, 19-17 maybe. So I'm looking for a low-scoring game, close game. All right, so Keystone Cowboy got it 23-20 Dallas. William Coulter got it 20-13 Pittsburgh. I wish I could argue with you on that one, William, but I can't. The Cowboys need to use their running back for tonight. 100% agree. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a lot of touchdowns either. And Ryan at DC Diner saying there are saying chances of thunderstorms, which to me would probably work to our advantage if there are thunderstorms, because I feel like that works to the advantage of the more shifty receivers than the long striders. Just got to make sure we make those tackles. Joseph Warren has a 24-23 Cowboys. So nobody's gotten over 24 so far. William Coulter saying maybe Aubrey gets a chance at the record, but Pittsburgh is a horrible place to kick. Yeah, I would doubt if there's any stadium, I doubt he gets a record in. It'll be that one. Yeah, so I definitely don't expect any records to be broken, but I do expect there to be several field goals made. All right, so if we can get one or two more game predictions in here, let me know. Remember that whoever gets it correct or gets closest will receive a Dallas Cowboys lanyard mailed to them. So if you put your game prediction in and you know you hit it, just send me a text. Let me know your address, and then I'll get that lanyard out to you on tomorrow. On tomorrow. Tori Watkins says 20-16 Cowboys. So everybody but William Coulter has faith. And I will say this though, if both teams, and this is probably contrary to like what Keystone has and Joseph Warren, if both teams get over 20 points, I think it's less likely that we win. I think either one or both teams has to be under 20 points for us to have a chance in this game. And Quentin Holland has it 25-17 Cowboys. All right, so 11:43. Keep putting those game predictions in the comments. Let me know what you think. Before we get out of here, we're also going to do something called bold predictions. So for you guys who are joining us for the first time, bold predictions are a statistic that if it happened, it would be extremely unusual. And I'll give you an example. My bold prediction for this game would be Jalen Tolbert having 100 yards receiving. I think he has an opportunity for it because I don't think the Steelers' number 2 corner is very good. But if it happened, I would be definitely shocked. Another bold prediction would be Rico Dowdle over 80 yards. It's possible, but we haven't seen it. So let me know some of you guys bold predictions in the comments. You laugh, William Coulter, but as of right now, That's a pretty bold prediction because I don't think Zeke's had more than 20 in a game. If there's any game for Zeke to tap into what he used to be, it would be this one. So let me know some of you guys' bold predictions in the comments. Keystone saying Ryan Flournoy gets the first touchdown. Definitely a bold prediction. Expecting a lot out of the rookie receiver in his first game. I see we got my guy Jeff joining us. Jeff, thank you for tuning in. We're at 11:45. Let's get a couple more bold predictions in here, and then we'll move on to fantasy favorites and close this thing out. So right now, the last comment was Keystone saying Ryan Flournoy gets the first touchdown. And I was saying that's a lot to ask for the rookie, but I mean, it sounds like we're going to rely heavily on him, so there is opportunity for it. Ryan at DC Downer says Dallas gets a pick 6 on the Steelers' first drive. Extremely bold prediction. They call it on the first drive at that. And Jeff joins us and says Dak throws for 5 touchdowns. That would definitely be a bold prediction because we're depleted at the receiver position. Oh, yeah. I was saying, let me see. William Coulter said Zeke will have 40 yards rushing as a bold prediction. And I said if there's any game for Zeke to tap into his old self, it would be this one because I feel like this is going to be a perfect situation to have a physical running game. Anthony Paradise, I'm sure I butchered it, so I apologize. I need Zeke to run through the Steelers defense like he did on that last second win. We definitely need to see a lot of that. I would love for us to have over 120 yards rushing as a team. I think if we can do that, we have a very, very good chance of winning. All right, guys, last segment of the show. We're at 11:47. I want to give you guys the opportunity to make your last minute lineup changes. So last segment of the show, fantasy favorites. I'm going to give you guys a couple of fantasy favorites from the Cowboys game, and then I'm going to give you a couple from around the league. And like I always say, I try not to use the obvious big names because we can all say that a guy like Justin Jefferson is going to be a fantasy favorite, or a guy like Kyron Williams. Those are obvious ones. So I'm going to give you some. If you're having a problem finding a good replacement with the bye weeks, these are some guys you should look at. So in this game, I would probably lean more towards Jalen Tolbert because I think he has a chance to get 5 or 6 catches for 45, 50 yards. If you can get 10 points from a guy who's coming off your bench or free agency, that's a good week for me. So I'm looking at Jalen Tolbert. I think Jake Ferguson is going to have a really good game. I expect to see him get 6 to 7 catches again. Those are the ones that aren't so obvious. I think one of our running backs is going to score a touchdown this week. I don't know which one, but one of them is going to score a touchdown. I would lean towards Rico because he's the starter, but it could just as easily be Zeke. So I would probably lean more towards Rico. He's a pretty good runner when he gets blocking. Jeff has Jake Ferguson fantasy favorite. Anthony saying Ferguson's about to eat. Brandon Perez saying Flournoy will have an impact this game. Thinks it gives you better blocking. I agree with that also. I think that helps as well. Now, in terms of the Steelers, fantasy favorite, kind of an unknown guy, I would definitely look at Calvin Austin. Like I said before, Justin Fields does not like to throw across the middle of the field. Calvin Austin has that speed that can cause us problems. And if Diggs is following George Pickens and we have our practice squad corner on Calvin Austin, that could be a cause of concern. So definitely got to pay attention to Calvin Austin. I talked to Jeff about this one earlier this week. Aaron Shanklin, who's the fourth running back, is going to be the backup. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, Najee Harris is not active in the passing game. So Shanklin's going to have some opportunities to catch the ball out of the backfield. And he has a little bit of wiggle. So if you need a running back replacement and you need 7 or 8 points, I think Shanklin has a good chance to get you 7 or 8 points as a guy you pull off the waiver wire. And then around the league, I just like rivalry weeks. I know I'm one of the few guys who does that, but I would pay close attention to DJ Moore going against his old team, Carolina. I think he has a really good opportunity to score a lot of points that are unexpected. Dontavian Wicks from Green Bay. They just suspended Romeo Dobbs. Jalen Reed's going to get a lot of attention. Christian Watson's out. Wicks is going to have an opportunity to score a lot of points in the game with Green Bay. Let me think. Anybody else that really stands out? I'm trying to think of a running back replacement. Alexander Madison for Oakland. They've been wanting to give him opportunities for a while. I think Zamir White is out this week. So he's probably going to have opportunity for a lot of carries. So if you need a guy on your bench who could probably give you 10 to 12 points, I would pay attention to Alexander Madison. Jeff has Amari Cooper as a fantasy favorite. I like Cooper. It's just hard for me to trust him because he just is so up and down. But when he's on, he's definitely a fantasy favorite that you got to pay attention to. And one more fantasy favorite. Let me think of a guy who has a really good matchup this week who's kind of an underrated guy. Cam Akers, running back for Houston. He had a bad week last week, but Buffalo's run defense is not as good as they have been in years past. So if you have him on your bench, he may be available on your waiver wire. Go take a look at Cam Akers for Houston. See if you can slide him into your lineup. Then last one, Antonio Gibson. Ramondre Stevens has been a fumbling machine. And a running back that fumbles, unless you're Zeke from 2021, you're going to lose your job. And it looks like he's lost his job. Antonio Gibson is explosive. He can run between the tackles. He's very good catching out of the backfield. They're playing against a Miami team that's pretty much given up on the season, it seems like, until Tua comes back. So Antonio Gibson is going to have a lot of opportunities to get you 4 or 5 catches, 30 yards, probably another 40 to 45 yards rushing. That's a good 12-point game for a guy that's on your bench. So if you can pick up Antonio Gibson, or you can pick him up off waivers and you need a running back to start for in a pinch, Antonio Gibson is a good guy to check out. So that's pretty much all I got for this week's show. We're at 11:53. That gives you guys about 7 good minutes to go. Get your beverage of choice, kick back in front of your TV, and get ready for a full slate of NFL football leading up to tonight's game with Dallas versus Pittsburgh. So before you guys go do that, like I mentioned before, make sure you hit the link in the comments, go to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and also join us this Wednesday at 8:30 Central Standard Time for another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. We will be, I'm calling into existence. We will be celebrating a victory Wednesday as the Dallas Cowboys defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we will also be looking ahead to next week's matchup against the Detroit Lions. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Join us this Wednesday. Should be a really good show. It's going to be a lot to talk about because the Lions pose a lot of different matchups and problems for us. So tune in, join the comments, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. As always, Let's go Cowboys. I'll see you guys on Wednesday night.